what you should really be asking yourself is not so much what degree am I doing, but really where do you think your interests are going to be as you develop as a person and you develop your career skills and what you want to do in the future. Right? Because that's actually a lot more important. And like I always tell my staff here, right? There's nothing worse than really waking up every morning and going to a job that you hate to do, right? Because it's pointless. You might as well move on, right? And find something you're a bit more passionate about. And I think that's a lot more important. You have to expect basically that whatever you learn in university, right, will basically be useful to you, but it won't be at the end of the day everything that you need to know to do a job. 80% of it is going to be on the job as you come in. Right? And that's why I think for most employers, like I said, we're now looking really more for aptitude, looking more for the ability to learn and basically whether you have the right personality to fit into the culture that we're looking at. When you start working, right, you have to make sure that you plan for your retirement from day one. And that means actually saving money early on. In fact, you should be actually looking at even investing money or saving money as a student itself. And I shared my own personal experience. When I was a student in the UK, I had the benefit of having a scholarship, but what I did basically was I actually saved most of my scholarship money over the years. I actually invested. When I finally finished as a student in the UK and I came back, I actually had enough capital basically to come back and actually invest in Malaysia as well. Now with the internet, there's plenty of information available online, right, on investing, how to manage your risk, how to determine what is your own risk appetite, whether you're high risk tolerance and therefore you're willing to put more money into technology companies or new companies. If you have a low risk tolerance, then you do more utilities, right? So you have to understand yourself first and the kind of risk appetite that you're willing to take, right? And whether you're willing to absorb losses, because you will make mistakes along the way, right? But the point basically is that you learn from these mistakes, and the more you do, the more mistakes you make, the more you learn, the better you get at it. If you are thinking of changing a job solely because the other guy is going to pay you 10% or 15% higher to do the same job, right? It's probably the wrong reason to move. Right? You should move really only because you really want to do that job. Right? It's a new role, it's a new industry that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, right? That's probably a good reason to move. When you get your first job, right, you may find that it's not a good fit for you. Right? If it isn't, then cut your losses early, right? Find something that you want to do and move on. Right? Because employers don't want unhappy employees working for them as well, right? It's very, very unproductive. So if you think it's not working out for you, just move on and find something else. My personal philosophy has basically been that we don't live to work, right? So we work to live, and at some point, right, you got to think, what is your end game, right? You got to plan for that, and you got to think to yourself, are you going to be the kind of person who is going to have to end up working the whole life beyond the age of 60 because you never save enough money and you don't have a retirement plan in mind, right? Or do you work towards a goal whereby you think, okay, fine, I'm happy to work towards a certain financial goal and I will retire at 50 or 55, whatever it is, and do something else that's really interesting to me, right?